Welcome everyone. Today we are going to discuss the diagnostic testing strategies of uh, detection of coronavirus in India. So first and foremost thing is I welcome all to my channel. If you like my lectures, please subscribe them and share among the needful persons who are in the need of the latest improvements in science and technology. So let us see uh, first the progression of coronavirus in India, how it happens. So in India, there is no coronavirus cases prior to January 2020. However, this is not our own virus. This is a foreign virus. These virus originated from the individuals who have travel history from the infected nations, say China, Indonesia, Italy, America, Spain, and whatsoever the Middle East and European countries. So if you see the slide, in this, a person who has a travel history from any country which is already where the corona is either endemic or pandemic. So the person carries the virus himself and he travels abroad to any nation. So here the, the infected persons are of two types. One is a he might be a symptomatic carrier, and the next one is an asymptomatic carrier. So what exactly I mean about symptomatic carrier? That means a person who got infected with corona who expresses symptoms as well as he transfers the virus uh, him from the infected person to the other healthy individuals. So in the other case, the person is already infected with virus but is asymptomatic because of his immune response, and neither he will be affected with that virus, but however he spreads the virus to the other healthy individuals. This is again a spillover. So this is a geometrical progression where the infected person within these many days it is geometrically progressed and it spreads entire community. So in some countries, one person has made it infected to almost all the 30,000 individuals. So this is the fundamental information which we require to know. So the importance of what we say social distancing. This is what the total world is following today. So the complete lockdown of the country is the only solution to combat or treat, to prevent the viral infection. So, so these slides shows you that the the preliminary attack of coronavirus is from uh, so the virus attacks the lungs, e- especially the secondary pneumocytes. Secondary pneumocytes, already we know that it is helpful in maintaining the viscosity of the lungs, as well as the secondary pneumocytes have a receptors where it is angiotensin converting enzyme 2. So this is the primary substrate for the virus. So once it attacks, it ruptures the secondary pneumocytes, thereby causing the shrinkage of pneumocytes as well as lungs, whereby this, what do you mean, the systemic circulation, it spreads all over the body. Further, it may cause multiple organ dysfunction, so based upon your immunity. Suppose if you do not have any comorbidity. What do you mean by comorbidity? The comorbidity means you have an hidden history of either renal failure or heart failure or any other condition where the attack of corona is very lethal and the person requires the intensive care for the treatment of as well as ailment. So this is the fundamental information of coronavirus. So in India currently we are in which stage of spread of corona? In the initial stage, the corona is a zoonotic virus. This zoonotic virus started spreads from bats. After some topological or genetic modification of the surface. It infected the pangolins. From the pangolins, it spread from pangolins to the human beings. So this is the fundamental. This stage is called as stage 1. So this stage 1 occurred in Wuhan city of China. From Wuhan city, from one individual to another individual, this is called as by from local transmission. The local transmission is one positive patient spreads the virus to the his neighbor. So this is called as contact cases. This stage is called as stage 2. And in stage 3, the virus spreads from the community spread. So here you need not have any travel history, or you need not have any, what do you say, contacts. The virus is already in the community, so it keeps on spreads. In the stage 4, the cause of any spread of virus is uncertain, and it spreads until and unless it is no end. So here it will be very pandemic. So luckily in India, we are till date we are in the stage 2. So with around almost all 4,500 cases, so reported as per the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So this is the fundamental information. Until now we are safe. However, in the future we are not having any idea. So next, coming to this early strategy of screening of patients with corona or any foreign nationals. Once the foreign national enters in India, he has been thermally screened at airports, and the patients who are having a temperature fluctuations of above 1 or 2 degrees centigrade, so these patients are assumed to be positive, and these have been isolated and observation, and further if they require, they are treated. And patients who are asymptomatic, who have a travel history from uh, the any countries which are infected, but they do not show any symptoms, either temperature or any other things, they have been stamped and advised to be home quarantined, or they have been sent to isolation centers for further uh, checkups. So this is the fundamental and first most strategy. Further, if you see if you see this slide, what if the persons who are in direct contact with positive cases, suppose if you have a foreign return and he is positive, but unknowingly he has been communicated with his family members for about 1 week or 10 days, because the incubation period of the virus to express the symptoms in a human being is around 14 days. So knowingly or unknowingly he spreads the virus to his family members. So suppose direct close contacts to the positive cases, now these people are advised to be home quarantined for 14 days. Now after 14 days, if they show symptoms, now these patients who are symptomatic are sent to the labs for diagnosis. The person who are asymptomatics, and these do not require any lab test. So after 14 to 20 days, they are freed from the general into general publics. So what exactly we are going to screening is we have to get a throat or nasal swabs, that is nasopharyngeal swab, and this swab is tested for the viral protein. So this is a fundamental strategy which we have been following in the early stages. So the testing strategy which is available and till date in the all over the world is RT-PCR, so real-time polymerase chain reaction. So it can directly detect very trace amounts of virus, so in an accurate manner. So the first protocol of isolation is the nasopharyngeal swab is collected. Now the genetic material is isolated from this one. Once the genetic material is isolated, the primers have been added to the genetic material. Once the primers have added, and these primers are initiated for duplication and multiplication in polymerase chain reaction machine. So while undergoing amplification, we add the fluorescent dyes. The fluorescent dyes gets incorporated into the multiplication process, where after complete multiplication, there is a release of fluorescent dye. If you get a positive result, that means you have a positive graph in your fluorescent assay. That is your with some artifacts. There are some artifacts in the assay. So, however, if you have an viral genome, especially you get a fluorescent indication saying that you have infected with virus. Further, if you have no virus, there are no fluorescence markers detected. This is the fundamental protocol of RT-PCR. However, see what exactly we do in the complete strategy. I'm going to explain here. Here is you separate the viral genome from the nasopharyngeal swab. Now you go for reverse transcriptase and you go for amplification, that is either multiplication. So while it is incorporation into RT-PCR, the dyes gets joined. So once it is completely amplified, there is a release of fluorescent dyes. So in the positive cases, you get fluorescent graph, and when the negative, there is no fluorescent. So this is the fundamental strategy of RT-PCR. What are the issues in RT-PCR is, so you know what is the population of India. To test massive population, we do not have RT-PCR kits, and the financial burden on the country is very high. So each kit on an average, it's getting cost around 4,500 rupees, and the time it is very time consuming. So it takes few hours or days to get the results from a lab to an infected patient, and there are chances of having false positives. So these are the fundamental problems which we face in having RT-PCR. So further, so this is later on from the 4th April, the Government of India as well as in the ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare have, as per the protocol followed in the Western nations, that is antibody based test is followed. In this, generally this test is applicable in those areas where there are cluster hotspots. What do you mean by cluster hotspots? So where the total number of positive cases increase day by day, or you are in a suspicion that you are in a borderline from stage 2 to stage 3. So there, in such cases, you need massive sampling. So during those scenario, you go for an rapid antibody based test. What exactly this test do is, once you get anyone who gets a viral infection, your body immune system with a trigger of macrophages, you release an antibodies. The first antibodies which is released into the body is IgM, and later on, once the immunity is developed against such virus, the individual will develop IgG. Suppose in the initial stage of testing, if the individual is reported with IgM antibodies in his body, that means he has an initial stage of infection. Whereas in the further, after some certain stage, if he has depicted only the IgG antibody, it clearly tells that he is now immune enough so that he will not be get targeted by the virus. So the only information which you are getting from this slide is, if the person is expressing IgM antibodies, that means he is in the early stage of infection where he is not immune competent enough to combat the virus. Whereas if he is expressing the IgG antibodies, so it will tell you that the immune system is already developed immunity against that virus. This is the fundamental information which you get from this slide. However, in certain countries, you have an antibody-based strips which are home delivered. So where you test the negative as well as positive graphs and you report it. Once you get this one, you are being freed into the world so that their country's economy may be survived. So this is the fundamental. However, who are the technical medical lab technicians who are doing such reports should be well versed with the personal protective equipment like whole body mask, gloves, and separate, and we have goggles. These are the fundamental safety precautions to be taken while doing such test. So how this test is performed is that, suppose if you found a cluster. So what is cluster? So in India, recently we have come across two clusters, mostly in Delhi. One is an religious congregation. The other is from the massive labor movement from one state to another state. So in such cases, it is not possible to test all the individuals whether they are healthy or infected with the help of PCR, because it is not cost effective, and it is cumbersome and time consuming. In such cases, you do what do you say a rapid antibody based test. So here the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare as well as the ICMR suggest that whoever the individuals in the clusters who express IL, influenza like illness, ILI, so those individuals to be tested with rapid antibody based test. If the rapid antibody based test shows positive, so he will be treated as a positive individual, and he will be given for hospitals for clinical assessment and treatment. Suppose if he shows negative, that means there are no antibodies in his body, that means that he is not infected. Further, even though if he is not having rapid antibody test positive, if he is with influenza like illness, now his sample will be sent for polymerase chain reaction. If he is not having any symptoms, and if his rapid antibody based test is negative, he will be quarantined for 10 days, and further after 10 days he will be tested for again for your rapid antibody based test. So if your rapid antibody based test again, if it is negative, he is is not with infection, and if it is positive, he will be having a probable COVID-19 infection. So this is the fundamental information, where if person is with influenza like illness as well as positive antibody based test, will confirms that he is infected with virus. A person with no symptoms and negative antibody based test will tell you that he is he is not infected with virus. However, even though if do not have symptoms, you may be infected with virus. However, your antibody test will give positive. So once asymptomatic persons with positive antibody tests should also be tested for PCR, so polymerase chain reactions, and further he should be isolated from the rest of the society. However, in Germany, people with only with IgG antibodies in their blood are allowed to move into the market, into the society, whereas this strategy is still not incorporated in India. So this is the fundamental explanation. So what exactly it tells you? So antibody test negative. So once if the test is negative, but still if the patient is having influenza like illness, he will be gone for RT-PCR. If he is based upon the PCR, if his test is negative, he will be what we say it is negative COVID-19. Suppose if it is turned for positive for COVID-19, based upon the severity of illness, he may be advised to go for intensive care, or he may be quarantined or isolated for certain time period. So rapid antibody based test is a clinical assessment test and helps in isolation and quarantine for cluster sampling. This is the fundamental information which you need to understand. Further, so this is the treatment strategies till date, where you use chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, lopinavir, ritonavir, remdesivir, and several other azithromycin, hydroxychloroquine, and there are several other treatment protocols which have been used. However, these are do not have any much research data. However, they are hit and trial methods. However, their patients have been recovered by these strategies because these are all retroviral treatments. So the viral infection is reduced. So as upon the viral load is reduced, so the patients will get cured and they will be discharged. So the importance of hydrochloroquine in India. So the US, the well-developed nations, are requesting for their medicine from uh, Asian countries like India for help. However, it is been denied because of pandemic in the world. However, until and unless you are self-sustained, you cannot donate to even for an higher nation or lower nation. This is a strategy of our Indian government till date. So, so coming to the latest research, uh, the tablets of the ivermectin, which treats the ticks and mites, is helpful in a complete elimination of virus in cell lines in 24 days. Now, there is research that also suggests that a BCG vaccine is also self-competent enough to prevent the um, coronavirus infection. However, still they are in assessment stage, and few countries already claim that they are in the preclinical testing of your uh, coronavirus vaccine, but the authenticity, whether they are real or not, we do not know. Further, these are the drugs which are currently used in treatment. So one is your remdesivir, the other is chloroquine, and a low toxic metabolite hydroxychloroquine is still used, and this is favipiravir, that is and several other, see, antibody based treatment. So the this is the fundamental which you need to know. A healthy individual who has been recovered from virus recently has already developed IgG antibodies in his body. So these antibodies protect him from further infection. So what we can do is an individual who has been recovered recently, his blood plasma can be separated. From the plasma, you can separate antibodies. These antibodies may be injected into a patient who is critically ill in so that he may be recovered. However, the monoclonal antibody based treatment is still going on. Further, if there are certain precursors which can combine all the essential viral and hydroxychloroquine and favipiravir to some linkers, such that metabolic cleavage will deliver all these three drugs site specifically, so that the viral load may be decreased, so that the patient may be cured. This is the fundamental strategy of treatment. Further, there is no hope whether the virus do not change any its form. As you know, it is a zoonotic virus. Recently, a tiger in Zoo of America has also tested positive, expressing that the zoonotic virus further after some transformation has might have infected this tiger. So even though you prepare any vaccine or any drug, further any genetic modification may still happen, so that you need to be change the medication in regular intervals in order to combat. So the only way to be safe enough is to self quarantine or self isolation, and healthy hygiene by maintaining what do you mean proper hygienic and immune system, as well as using hand sanitizers and soap, and keeping your environment and surroundings clean, and lock down the whole nation for some more 20 odd days, and that's it for the today's lecture. Hope you all might have enjoyed the science. So if you like, please subscribe and share the lectures. So thank you.